7 o'clock, and we'll call the meeting back to order. I have a motion moved by Doug Hutchison, seconded by Rob Thompson. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby returns to open session of Council at 7 p.m. Any questions or comments on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. There you are. And as you can see by the council table up here this evening, we do have a couple of, one different face and a couple of missing individuals. Our deputy mayor is away on holidays. Councillor Lawrence has sent her regrets. She was hoping to get here, but she is, the flu bug is going around, and she is suffering from that right now. And our clerk is not with us for some of the same reasons. So Kathy Sweeney is filling in admirably for him. If she seems to be in shock every once in a while, it's only because the mayor's put her on the spot and she's not aware of what he is doing. So she'll try and keep us all in line up here. And I'd just like Kathy to note that only those two matters that went into closed session were the only matters discussed. And there was no matters arising from closed. Public meetings we have none. Consent agenda. I have a motion moved by R. Herget and seconded by Rob Thompson. Be resolved that the minutes of the regular council meeting held March 5th, 2018 and the minutes of the Committee of Whole meeting March 5th, 2018, and the minutes of Committee of Whole meeting March 12th, 2018, and the minutes of Committee of Whole Planning meeting March 12th, 2018 be adopted as circulated. And further, that the November 1st, 2017 minutes of the West Grey Parks Committee A2 be received as amended. Further, that the February 7th, 2018 minutes of the West Grey Parks Committee A2 be received as circulated. And further, that the minutes of the Northern Bay Recreation Advisory Committee A2 be received as circulated. And further, that the minutes of the other committees A3 be received as circulated. And further, that the minutes of the Chief Building Report B1 be received as circulated. Any comments, questions on those? Bev?
Yeah, the Parks minutes of November 1st should read December 13th, 2017.
Okay. We can make that December 13th. Okay. Yep. It was good we had that. Those minutes were as amended anyway, so I don't have to use the second as amended more. And Rebecca, comments?
So I'm looking to have the Parks minutes pulled for later discussion.
The February 7th or the December 13th?
February 7th, please.
February 7th ones? Good. Do that under other business. Okay. Any other questions? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. Very good. Then that will bring us down to communications from Mayor and Council. Is there any council members have any communications that they want to bring forward at this time? Anything happened over the last? Well, Doug.
Sure. Maybe just make a mention of a couple of our local hockey teams are in the OMHA playoffs, the Bantams and the Adams, and I believe the Adams are down a couple games now, but hopefully they'll be able to turn that around. And the Bantams, I'm not sure, played the other night, and I'm not sure how they made out.
Tied last night.
Tied last
Overtime
night.
tie in Hagersville. Yes.
Right. And then our local men's team, the T-Cats, Thundercats, are in a playoff, down a couple games, but we're hoping they're going to claw their way back into it, the finals of the WOA. So yeah, some exciting hockey in the area, and it's good for the community. One other item that I thought I'd like to mention, just on March 10th, a number of our council were over to a politicians meeting regarding Gray and Bruce agriculture in Gray and Bruce, I guess, was the meeting was all about, and there was a lot of information shared about agriculture in our area, and agriculture is a big economic driver in our area, and it was a very informative morning over in Elmwood, and it was good to hear from our local farmers and how they're they're doing well, but they have their issues too that they shared with us. So it was a good morning.
Anything else? I'd just like to say thank you to any of the council members that represented me. I was away for a week myself. Missed the polar plunge that our police services held at St. Peter, St. Paul's while I was away. Resounding success. I understand that I plunged a couple of times into my pocket, not into the water, to support them. And but I do understand that there was one council member that hadn't really thought about it until she got there. And so everybody looked to this side of the table to understand who it was. And congratulations, Councillor Hergert, for getting into that water. I think it was a lot of peer pressure, from what I understand, maybe. Dressed in your nice business suit, and it wasn't waterproof, was it? But you will, I'd just like to say that we were the West Grey Police Service of about 20 members on the police service, but the municipality of 13,000 for Special Olympics is what the polar plunge is for across the province. And ours raised $8,500. There is a municipality to the south of us, pretty much south of Highway 7 as well too, that is somewhere around that 3 million population, and in comparison to 20 officers to somewhere around 6,000 officers, they raised $10,000 on their polar plunge. So I'm thinking that, yep, we are good. We are. Oh, Adam, I can't use that language. I'll just say we are really good. Okay. On Sunday night, the Newstead Fire Association firemen had their chicken dinner, very well attended again, and an excellent meal. A lot of people out, and there was promotion from the that we were getting ready. Of course, the Newstead Lions Club, I believe it is the 28th of May, with their lobster, steak, and crab dinner. It will be on the arena floor, and you can come and visit with 1,800 other people that will be there enjoying theirs. That's just a little bit of promotion for that. The other thing was I got a letter from the warden of Grey County that, and this is just more for council and staff, that the Warden's Forum will be held in Walters Falls on April 24th. So if it's open to council and senior staff, let Laura know whether you'll be attending so she can get us registered. It's meeting starts at 4 o'clock, be a light lunch, and over somewhere around 8 to 8:30. And if you're thinking of any other fundraising, two of them that have come across my desk is the hike for hospice and the Alzheimer's hike. The Alzheimer's hike is on May 12th at Sulphur Springs Conservation Authority. And starting at registration at 9, walk begins at 10. So it's the old Saugeen Conservation Authority just north of Newstead. And then there is another one on hike for hospice, which is right here in Durham, which is in support of the local hospice in Owen Sound. And it is on May the 6th. Registration will be at the Durham Town Hall. Starting at, I believe it is noon, and the hike itself is at 1 o'clock. And there is a Tourette's Walk, recognition for that, in Ayton this Saturday. Rebecca, starting at noon?
We'll double check.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure it's at noon, the third time to support. There is at least 2 families within West Grey that have a child suffering from Tourette's, and just a bit of recognition for what the symptoms are and what the challenges that they deal with, and raising a little bit of money to help support and see if we can find a cure for that as well too. And Rebecca.
So further to Doug's comments there about Elmwood Politician Day, that was a great opportunity for local municipalities to come together and meet with their provincial counterparts. Although our provincial counterparts were busy last Saturday, we did meet with our federal minister, MPPs, and bringing the concerns forward about different trade agreements, the TPP and CETA and their impact locally. That was pretty eye-opening as well. But it was a good day of all ag-related discussion, and if anybody wants more information, to go to the websites for the Grey County and Bruce County. It was a combined effort to make everyone informed, so that was a good day. Yes, the Polar Plunge was a very good fundraiser. I was not exactly prepared, but why not raise some money for a good cause? Some people plunged into their pocket to make that happen, and we raised some more money for it, so it was a very good cause. Grey County Reads, this last week we had a finale, a conclusion to that, and West Grey Library Service was able to win $200, and that's thanks to Jenny Parsons, and I'd like to say myself too. We were both celebrity readers and writers for that program. On Sunday of this last weekend, I was able to go to Hanover Air Cadets. Now, a lot of their kiddos come from West Grey, and overall they're all Air Cadets, and it was the regional effective speaking competition. And we have some very talented young kids in our area, so let's look for their leadership in the future. Saturday, the horticulture and the library hosted a CD Saturday. That was a very good turnout for that. And the last nod I'll give is to Catch the Ace. The Durham Lions group is fundraising for various projects, and Catch the Ace is a great opportunity for everyone to win some money in a bit of a lottery. So you can go online and look for that as well. Catch the Ace tickets. There we go. Thanks, Kevin.
Yellow this week. Yes.
Great.
Yes. Yep. Green last week.
And I'll just mention that Sunday at the Legion at 3 o'clock is their draw. You can buy tickets ahead of time. If nobody catches the ace, they usually have tickets for the following week on sale next.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Anything else? Very good. Then we'll move on. We have a couple of delegations this evening, 4, matter of fact. So I will try and keep us on time, conscientious of everybody's time. I think we're doing pretty good. We're a little bit ahead. But our first speaker is Brian McRae. Brian from OFAH, and is here to give us a presentation and comments on Sunday hunting. So very much welcome, Brian. And look forward to your presentation. And are you keyed up for the, is yours on the PowerPoint? Nope. Okay. I know we got a PowerPoint here, so. If you want to, you can use that, or if you want, you can just use the podium. Probably use the podium. Yep.
Before I start, too,
if you say something bad, you're standing up, you're ready to run at that point in time, so you're good. No, I just.
Before I start, I just want to say congratulations to Municipality of West Grey, in particular to Councillor Herbert for taking the plunge. From a father who has a very young son with cerebral palsy, it warms my heart to hear municipalities getting involved in initiatives like that. So thank you.
Ask you, Brian, to, I think it's the gray button there, and that will activate that microphone.
Oh, there we go.
Now you're being
Now we're
recorded.
good.
Yeah. So be careful
So
what
now
you
I
say
have to
from
be
here
careful.
on in.
Okay. Just get my papers here.
Thank you.
Well, thank you again. Good evening, Your Worship, members of council, staff, members of the audience. My name is Brian McRae, and I'm the Zone Member and Club Services Liaison with the Ontario Federation of Anglers and Hunters. On behalf of our 100,000 members, subscribers, and supporters, and 740 OFH-affiliated clubs, I'd like to thank you for affording me the opportunity to appear before you this evening on the topic of Sunday gun hunting. As a result of a policy developed by the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, MNRF, the Ontario Federation of Anglers and Hunters, OFAH, and Ontario Federation of Agriculture, OFA, in 2005, 67 municipalities across southern Ontario passed resolutions in support of Sunday gun hunting. For these municipalities, this came into effect on September 1st, 2006. Since that time, the MNRF and the OFAH have continued to receive calls from municipalities who originally voted against the proposal or took no action, and who have now decided that they should review the issue, seek public input, and decide whether to reaffirm their original decision or vote in favor of this initiative. Most of the current Sunday gun hunting provisions that previously existed were enacted in the 1950s. Gun and archery hunting is allowed on Sundays everywhere, in Northern Ontario, archery hunting on Sundays everywhere in the province, and prior to this initiative, Sunday gun hunting was allowed in some eastern areas of the province. Originally, there were 3 overriding reasons why this issue was brought forward. In some cases, these are even more relevant today than they were in 2005. Crop and livestock predation. According to the Ontario Soil and Crop Improvement Association, each year approximately over $50 million in crop damage is caused by wildlife, most notably deer, raccoons, coyotes, and waterfowl. The problem has become so extensive that the OFAH and OFA teamed up to produce the Ontario Crop and Livestock Wildlife Damage Assessment Model, and the MNRF struck a committee specifically to look at wildlife-human conflicts. In recent years, livestock predation in Ontario has been increasing. This has resulted in increasing demands from the public for controls over predators like wolves, coyotes, and bears. By 2009, coyotes and wolves had become a major threat to fawns and calves across southern Ontario, which is arguably more of an issue today. Many municipalities are finding that livestock predation is becoming a frequent and costly burden given the compensation that is being paid out to producers for lost livestock. Wildlife management. The MNRF has repeatedly stated that hunting is the most cost-effective wildlife management tool, without which the MNRF could not possibly be able to cope with the burgeoning wildlife populations in many areas. In fact, many people are at their limit with respect to tolerance for increasing wildlife species, while far fewer are at the same limit with respect to seeing, hearing, or being bothered by hunters. Since 1999, the MNRF policy has clearly stated that bylaws that appear to restrict hunting as an activity based largely on public perceptions, acceptance, or appropriateness of hunting should be challenged. While this applies more in the case of no discharge bylaws, the MNRF could challenge a municipal decision to restrict hunting in areas where there's a clear and present concern for either agricultural losses, a risk to public safety, or restrictions on the MNRF's ability to manage wildlife. Public safety. Wildlife populations in Ontario are healthy and in many areas increasing in numbers. While this is generally good news, there are a number of cases where populations have reached levels that are resulting in unacceptable impacts on agriculture, the environment, and most important, public safety. According to the Ontario Ministry of Transportation, there is a motor vehicle wildlife collision every 38 minutes in this province. 1 out of every 18 motor vehicle collisions in Ontario involves some form of wildlife. The number of motor vehicle wildlife collisions is increasing annually, approximately 12,000 per year. These collisions result in death, hundreds of serious injuries, and tens of millions of dollars in damage claims. And a special note that the OPP estimate that the number of collisions with wildlife that go unreported are likely double of what are reported. 90% of these collisions occur on 2-lane roads outside of urban areas, 84% in good weather. The number of collisions with wildlife has increased by 86% over the last 10 years. Accidents between cars and wildlife not only kill and injure people, they cause millions of dollars worth of accident claims and leave tens of thousands of wild animals dead each year. The carnage is getting worse with more motorists on the roads, new highways being built, residential communities spreading into rural areas, and changes in climate. Municipalities that restrict hunting opportunities or enact discharge bylaws in the interest of public safety need to be cautious about inadvertently not creating a bigger public safety issue. As a wildlife management tool, hunting helps to keep population numbers in check. A fourth reason for allowing the expansion of hunting to include Sundays is related to economic growth. Hunting in Ontario represents $1.5 billion in annual economic activity. For many communities, hunters mean an influx of dollars for hotel owners, gas stations, marinas, grocery stores, restaurants, etc. If Sunday gun hunting was allowed, many hunters who would not normally think of driving a long distance for only a Saturday hunt or would not stay in camp for one extra day will likely take advantage of the opportunity and bring with them much needed spending. Simply put, towards townships, that permit Sunday gun hunting are viewed as more attractive. In summary, hunting is a heritage activity recognized under provincial legislation passed in 2002 and federal legislation passed in 2014, now known as National Hunting, Trapping, Fishing Heritage Day, celebrated on the third Saturday in September every year. There are over 450,000 trained, licensed, and responsible hunters in Ontario who contribute hundreds of millions of dollars each year to fish and wildlife programs, including the Special Purpose Account, which funds all fish and wildlife programs in the province from licensed revenues. 2018 also marks 12 years having Sunday gun hunting in Southern Ontario. Currently, 179 municipalities in Southern Ontario have voted in favor of Sunday gun hunting, which will increase to 180 on April 1st with the inclusion of the Township of Melancton, who have already been approved. As you will see by the map in your package, the municipality of West Grey is almost completely surrounded by townships who have already passed resolutions to approve Sunday gun hunting, including, and I hope I get all these names right, Chatsworth, Aran Eldersley, thank you, Brockton, South Bruce, Howick, Wellington North, and Southgate. I guess 5 out of 7 is not bad. On occasion, detractors of Sunday gun hunting have suggested that if hunting 6 days a week has not been effective in reducing overpopulations in some species, that by adding a 7th day during current seasons would not make much of a difference. The MNRF, the OFAH, and the OFA firmly believe that by adjusting existing hunting regulations to allow gun hunting on Sundays during existing hunting seasons will increase harvest levels, decrease predation on crops and livestock, help to increase public safety, and potentially provide increased economic activity. For many people, hunting is a family activity, but for those who work during the week, they currently only have 1 day per week where they can share in this activity with other family members. By allowing for Sunday gun hunting, you are doubling their opportunities to hunt, along with the associated benefits outlined elsewhere in my presentation. Unfortunately, we no longer live in a world that everyone works the Monday to Friday schedule. More than ever, people are working shift work, weekends, multiple jobs to make ends meet, often leaving only 1 day a week, Sunday, to participate in their activity, hobby, or sport of choice. In this situation, hunting. Many Ontarians don't have an abundance of holidays, and once you subtract family functions and vacations, children's sports and hobbies, or even work schedules or holiday schedule allotments, many Ontarians don't have the ability or can't afford to take additional time off work, only emphasizing the importance of having the opportunity to take advantage of the full weekend. In the case of private property, and this is probably one of the most important points in my whole presentation, in the case of private property, landowners still have the right to determine whether or not to allow Sunday gun hunting on their land, just as they do every other day of the week. Similarly, if a landowner wishes to hunt his or her own property, they cannot proceed until such time the municipality approves it. Approving Sunday gun hunting would also remove barriers for licensed trappers. I would be more than pleased to expand on this point should anyone have any further questions or would like an explanation when I am finished. There has been a suggestion that Sunday gun hunting would interfere with religious practices. And for the record, the province of Quebec, which has the highest level of religious participation in Canada, has had Sunday gun hunting for over a decade. In light of all the activities which are now commonplace on Sundays, including shopping, gambling, beer and liquor purchases, etc., we ask why shouldn't someone be able to choose for themselves whether or not to gun hunt on Sunday, given the fact that hunting is a recognized traditional and heritage activity. According to Statistics Canada, hunting today is measurably safer than bicycling, boating, swimming, horseback riding, and most recreational field sports, including baseball and golf. In fact, both the Canada Safety Council and the National Safety Council have stated that hunting in Canada is responsible for only 0.001% of accidents, which pales in comparison to injuries from the sports mentioned above and the number of injuries occurring as a result of automobile accidents, insect bites, and even lightning strikes. Hunting is also one of the few recreational activities that require proof of competence before engaging in the activity through both hunter safety and firearm safety courses, which I know you'll hear a little bit more later this evening. Since the advent of the hunter safety courses administered by the OFAH on behalf of the MNRF, the injury rate for hunting accidents has dropped to virtually nil. For anyone who feels that allowing Sunday gun hunting would increase the danger to anyone walking the woods, they are more likely to be injured by either being struck by lightning or bitten by an insect than being injured by a hunter. The bottom line is this: if the threat to public safety does not exist from Monday to Saturday, why would it be any greater on Sunday? What we are asking about here and what we are talking about here is equal opportunity for everyone, as echoed by Section 1 of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, Equality Rights for All. We are asking for you to pass a simple motion here today that would allow everyone the choice of whether or not to gun hunt on Sunday. Thank you for your time and consideration and for allowing me to appear before you, and I would be more than pleased to answer any questions that anyone might have. Thank you.
Very good. Take you up on that opportunity, Brian. Thank you very much for the presentation and the package of information that's here. Councillor Thompson, Rob.
Thank you, Brian. Very informative. You've answered a lot of the questions I had, but you stated in here our neighboring municipalities have passed this, Southgate and South Bruce Peninsula and so on and so forth. Has there been any issues, North Wellington, has there been any issues of hunting incidents?
No,
reported?
so that's a great question. I've been looking after the municipal aspects Sunday gun hunting for the Federation for approximately 5 years. I've been to probably close to 50 municipal council meetings on this very topic. I was at the Wellington North meetings. There were about 3 of them before council finally decided to vote in favor of it. I have not heard of any issues from allowing Sunday gun hunting. Some of our most recent ones, I have not heard anything from Wellington North, which was probably, I'm going to say 2 years ago, maybe 3 years maximum. Another one, which was a little further northeast, Tiny Township, was another one that was kind of an ongoing debate, shall we say, and since it's passed, there's been 0 issues. So I guess my answer to that is I have not heard of anything,
Right.
and we would normally hear it through the MNRF.
Right. Just a couple more, if you don't mind.
One more.
The Sunday hunting, basically, we're looking at the hunting season starting early part of September, ending the end of February, with the added wild turkey hunt, which is 5 weeks, end of April throughout May. Most of this type of hunting is basically with the shotguns, other than the deer hunt for 1 week in November.
Yeah, that's right. So it's just during existing hunting seasons. And I should say, and not to fast forward through this, if council made a decision tonight to pass Sunday gun hunting, this wouldn't come into effect until the fall either. We're too close to the next update.
Right.
That map that I provided you is only updated by the Ministry of Natural Resources twice a year, and the next one isn't until September 1st. So that wouldn't get started from there, and you're absolutely right. The hunting seasons, it's only existing hunting seasons, and I don't have the dates, I could go through them, but
Yeah, no, it's-
essentially is exactly what you said.
Yeah. Most of it's shotgun. 'Cause
That's right.
Goose hunting and so on, it's open fields and
That's
so on
right.
and so forth. And the penalty for trespassing, wild hunting is a lot steeper than regular trespassing.
Well, and I'm glad you brought trespassing up, because trespassing is not a hunting issue. Trespassing is an issue that we deal with, unfortunately, 365 days a year, and it's everybody. I'm not standing up here saying that hunting or hunters don't trespass. I would say that it's likely heightened during the hunting season, but if you talk to local conservation officers or the police officers, trespassing is an issue, and unfortunately it's a plague that we see with people walking dogs, on ATVs, horseback riders, hunters, anglers, everybody. That's why, as a federation, we've long stood for and we've always pushed for increased trespassing fines. We believe that they're not near high enough, and if we really want to make a difference in trespassing as a whole, there needs to be steeper fines. But our view is, if you're breaking the law, and if you're speeding or if you're trespassing or whatever the situation is, you should be fined.
Yeah. Just one other thing.
ahead.
Talking to some of the people that do not hunt at all, they see a mass growth of hunters during the rifle season, the deer rifle season during the first week of November, the first full week of November. That's not really the case throughout the rest of the hunting season. You just see people that don't hunt all the time. They're there during that first week, and there's a large group of people that hunt in this area. And the MNR have stipulated you can only hunt with a rifle for deer hunting from Monday morning till Saturday evening. There's no Sunday hunting allowed for
That's right.
deer in this area.
That's right. And you raise a great point. Deer hunting in Ontario is kind of viewed as the most popular hunting season there is. It's always been the most popular for various reasons. So you're absolutely right. There always seems to be a heightened awareness during that season alone. And it goes back to my comment earlier where, especially in the rifle season, when you're out hunting, everyone's wearing those nice, beautiful blaze orange jackets and hats. So they tend to stick out everywhere.
Yeah. And we do, women have increased the hunting aspect. There's a lot of women hunting now. We have actually one lady that lives in West Grey that's a very active hunter and teaches other ladies on hunting safety issues and so on. And she's actually appeared on some of the Canada Hunt TV shows through the Wild TV and so on. So
I don't want to
people
steal,
that-
I don't want to steal someone else's thunder, but
Yeah.
someone might be touching on that. But you're
Okay.
absolutely right. Women are the fastest growing demographic in
Exactly,
hunting.
exactly.
And youth combined.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Hutchison. Doug?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Good presentation. Just a couple questions. Is it not right that a landowner, if they have nuisance animals, predators on their property, that they can hunt, they can shoot them anytime? Is that
Protection of property
Right,
in the act of it.
right.
If you or someone else comes in and sits and wait, that is now classified as hunting.
Right, okay. But if the landowner takes it on himself,
In the act, that is under protection of property, and also ultimately they still have to do it in a safe manner. And but absolutely right. And to touch on that a little bit further, I mentioned that without having approved without having approved Sunday gun hunting, it negatively affects trappers, and this is where it comes into play with landowners, especially with coyotes and for the most part a lot of raccoon trapping is done with a live leg hold. And in order for a trapper, a licensed trapper, to use those any live trap, it has to be checked every 24 hours. So without having Sunday gun hunting or the ability to humanely and quickly dispatch that animal, they essentially lose a full day. And we've heard from a lot of landowners throughout the province, and I know that council's received already at least one email speaking to an individual who has many landowners wanting to get him in more often. It definitely helps on the predator control aspect as well.
Okay, thank you. Just want to comment, the workshop we were at there a week ago with the Federation of Agriculture, there was one gentleman that spoke about that he had trained the wolves in his area to not eat his sheep, and but he didn't give us any solutions how he did that. So I think until we know the answer to that and how you train the wild animals to not eat your animals, then I guess wildlife management becomes the solution, and I firmly believe that it's worth it.
He's a genius, I tell you.
A wolf whisperer. Very good. Rebecca?
So just to continue on with what Doug was saying there, we listened at the Elmwood Politician Day to OMAFRA and speaking about the difficulties of people that have loss of property actually substantiating their claim to OMAFRA in order to be paid. So we understand that it is an important aspect of owning animals and livestock is how to keep the predators away. So thanks so much for touching on that, Doug. Thank you for respecting private lands. I mean, we have to ensure that landowners have the responsibility and that's respected. Also, the economic impact of this, we have multiple businesses in West Grey that absolutely rely on hunting and fishing and enjoying our nature area. So I think that it is important for economic development as well.
Very good. Bev?
I'd just
Councillor
like
Cuddy.
to ask, out of the room that are here for this particular presentation, how many of you are actually West Grey residents? Okay, a number of you.
Jerry, put your hand
I
up.
do have a concern. I've had several emails over the last couple of weeks from 2 landowners in the area that people have been hunting with dogs, and the dogs then get a scent, charge on their property. The people are out walking, they hear gunshots, the gunshots are on their property. And I've had, in fact, I have them in my email, right, in fact, I got one today, that people are then nervous. They have their own dogs, they take their dogs, they go in the house, and when they go out and confront the hunter says, well, the dog can't read, which we know they can't, but so they're just crossing the fences, and the hunters are then in their property. They have 100 acres, this one particular person, and it is a problem, and she says it's a problem all winter long. And I think that I am not for Sunday hunting. I believe that if you have 5 days, 6 days a week, then you go ahead and do it 6 days a week. I think that there is a long hunting season in this part of the world, and I think people should have the right to at least one day to not have that kind of aggravation for them when they have their own property and they want to walk it or they want to do whatever they want to do on it. I will not support Sunday hunting. I never have and I never will. I do believe it's a right to hunt, but I do believe that you can do it in 6 days a week.
Okay. Any other questions for Brian? Well, thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you for the opportunity.
I don't have any questions. I do just have one statement, and I know one individual in the crowd will certainly back me up on this, is on the safety. I hit a golf ball once in a while. I won't call myself a golfer, but I have hit somebody with a golf ball, and I have been hit with a golf ball. I do hunt, and I've never had the incident there. Right, Skinner? Yeah, okay, fine.
Well, if
that's just my, I'm a,
If I
thankfully
may,
a
I
lot
worked with
safer on the hunting
I
part.
work with the city of Whitby on their discharge bylaw, and I know I'm going off a little side, but it talks to the public safety aspect. So I was doing my public safety aspect, and I was talking about being struck by lightning, and members of council kind of started snickering. And I wasn't really sure if it was something I said or if I had maybe something on my face or whatever. But towards the end, they admitted that one of their staff had indeed been struck by lightning. So obviously I took it as an opportunity and asked if they'd ever been injured by a hunter, and the answer was no. But that's my little sidebar story.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Very good. Janice, would you, yeah, no, I'm going to say, with your indulgence, because we have Art and it's on the hunting thing as well, could I juggle it so that we can keep it kind of, you okay? Thank you very much, Janice. I couldn't get to you before the meeting started to ask for your indulgence on that. Yeah, we have Art Hawes, who also wanted to speak on Sunday gun hunting, and thank you, Janice, for juggling that so we can keep it all in context here. Art?
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor, councilors, and guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Art Hawes, for those who don't know me. I am a firearm safety instructor, hunter safety instructor, and have been for some time. I started teaching the firearm safety course when it started in 1994, so I have 24 years experience in that and have been teaching a lot. One of the things I want to stress is that I'm here mainly because when we have these discussions, we have discussions about safety in hunting and use of firearms. And as an instructor, I want to point out to you what people actually have to go through to get to a point where they can hunt legally with a firearm or even own a firearm. So that's my goal. One of the things that I would like to point out to start with is I always get asked, why do I hunt? And I can tell you there's a time in my life I hunted for a purpose. When I was 12 years old, I was in my teens. It was necessary for gathering food. So we had some hard times. They asked me, well, why do you hunt today? And I find one of the biggest ways to relieve stress is to get out in the woods before daylight, watch the sun come up, listen to the woods come alive, and the things that you can see out there. The biggest thrills I've had in hunting had nothing to do with firing a gun. And remember, the actual time of firing a gun and harvesting game is seconds. You'll spend weeks and months in the forest. Things I remember most about hunting is things where I never actually pulled the trigger or even raised my gun. Things like seeing a bull moose close enough I could touch him with my gun and not pulling the trigger. That was in deer season. Things like sitting out in the woods in the morning, turkey hunting, full camouflage, and have that deer come up within 10, 15 feet of me, paw the ground, snort at me. It knew I didn't belong there, but didn't know what I was. And waiting for me to make a move so it knew I was friend or foe. Or sitting on a log and having a turkey land on a log beside me. And I was calling, waiting for the male to come in because it was a spring hunt. And when the female and I had quite a good conversation. Better than I've had with some people, by the way. And I think it's something to do with the fact that we both brains the size of a pea. That probably helped out some. So anyway, our presentation is going to be gained on safety. And what is involved in order to getting a firearms license? First of all, if you're going to hunt with a gun, you need a firearms license. To get a firearms license, you need to take the Canadian Firearms Safety Course and test. That is mandatory now. At one time, you could challenge the test. You can't anymore. The course is 8 to 12 hours long. It requires testing at the end of the course. You must pass a written test of 50 questions and handle 3 different types of firearms safely and pass the test of handling safely. The pass mark is not 50, it's 80%. If you fail, you get retested, you don't get the same test. It's not easy. For hunting, we do the hunting course. It takes usually 10 to 14 hours. It covers a whole number of items, which I'm going to talk about. It's not just about hunting. We could talk all about all kinds of different things here. At the end of the course, you will get a test of 70 questions, and you will have to get a passing mark of 84% to succeed. So we're just not handing these things out. What do we cover in the hunting course? We cover the ecology and ecosystems. We teach our hunters what a part of the ecology belong to, how they affect the ecosystems. Everything you do as a human being affects nature. Some good, some bad. Wildlife management, as was already mentioned. Wildlife managers try to balance the number of animals to the capacity of the range to handle those animals. You can only feed so many animals on a farm. If they get too populated, some's going to starve or die or whatever the case may be. So we are the one tool they have that they can control. They can't control the weather, they can't control the predators, but they can control us through hunting seasons and bag limits. We talk about responsible hunting. Hunting safely, hunting with conservation in mind. If you're not going to use it, let it walk away. Hunting ethically. Don't take a shot that you're not sure you're going to be effective. We want to make sure we're humane. Fair chase. Hunting should give the animals fair chase. They should have an opportunity. You don't shoot swimming animals. You don't shoot animals that don't have a chance of escaping. Respect. And this is the big one. Respect for other hunters. Respect for non-hunters. Respect for landowners. And most of all, respect the animal. If you're going to harvest an animal, do it right and do it humanely and do it safely. Wildlife laws. We spend more than 2 hours reviewing the regulations to make sure our new hunters understand the law. We tell them that they change every year. Every year we get a new set of regulations. Make sure you're up to speed on them. Make sure you're not breaking the law. The managers will make adjustments on season and bag limits depending on what's required to maintain the strong, healthy population of animals. Talk about hunting clothing and equipment. What do you need to do that? And also we talk about first aid and survival. And if you're like me and you spend a lot of time in flying hunts, remote canoe trips, if you don't know how to survive, you don't come back out of the woods. It's very important. Survival is not what you have with you, it's what you got between your ears. And we help to get them started in that direction. Shot placement. Shot placement means you take the shot that's going to be effective and humane. If you're not given that opportunity, you don't raise your gun. I've watched more animals walk away than I've ever took a shot at, because I didn't present a shot that I felt comfortable I was going to be humane in my kill. Field dressing and processing game, the basics of how to handle a game after you harvest it and how to process it. Make sure it's not lost. It is an offense to allow game meat to spoil. So you might got to look after it properly and do it properly. Firearms, there's additional section on firearms. Even though we've done a Canadian course, we get more in depth into firearms as it applies to hunting, and make sure that the people know the nuances of hunting with a firearm. Bow hunting is a special section on bow hunting. The biggest cause of hunter injuries in North America is people falling into the tree stands, usually bow hunters. That's a very important part of safety, making sure they survive and know how to do it right. Last year in North America, 6,000 people were severely injured falling from tree stands in North America. Wildlife identification, we give an overview. We tell our students, this is the overview. However, you must go online, you must buy books, you must buy manuals, you must get in nature and observe so you can identify what is legal. In today's world, and some maybe species of duck may or may not be hunted. It may be age, depends on the age of the animal, or the sex of the animal, whether or not it can be harvested, and depending on the tag you have. So identification of wildlife is extremely important, and make sure that you have identified your target. We have an apprenticeship program, and it's not like it was in the daily papers in Toronto. We're not turning 12-year-olds loose in the woods with guns. At the age of 12, they become apprenticed, and that means they have taken both courses and passed them successfully. After they've done that, they can get an apprenticeship program. And then they must hunt with a mentor, a duty licensed adult. They share one gun between the two people. And the apprentice must be at all times within arm's reach of the mentor. They cannot be separated from the mentor. They must be within arm's reach. At age 15, that goes up to age 15. At age 15, they can apply to buy a minor's license to possess a firearm and buy their own licenses. So they have to go to the OPP, Chief Firearms Office, to get that permit. It's negotiated between the parents and the OPP, Chief Firearms Office. Once they get a minor's permit, for the first year, they must still reach out and touch of their mentor. At age 16, they can then apply, the parents can apply to have them cut them a little slack. They could be a little bit further away, walk to the woods away from the mentor, or be in a tree stand observed by the mentor. At age 18, of course, they can get their full license. On an average year, I teach 50 courses. And I go through 500 to 800 students every year. The makeup of my courses has changed dramatically over the years. We are now getting a large influx of ladies and young people coming into courses. I taught a course 3 weeks ago for a firearms course. 50% were ladies. 25% were youths. The following weekend, I taught a hunting course. 80% of my people in that class were females. My classes range from 12-year-olds to people in their 70s. The point of that is that we no longer have a man's sport. It's not the boys going away to be together anymore, just than it was. We're not getting away from the women and kids and get that man time together. But the number of new hunters taught in Ontario, just the number of hunters in total, has doubled in the last few years. We normally did 12,000 or so a year. It's now over 25,000. Firearms licenses, we thought they're going to drop to 15,000. We're still running 50 or 60,000. Shooting sports and hunting have become very popular in Canada. Well, the big thing about Sunday hunting, as previously stated, is that Sunday hunting allows that opportunity for those families who are busy with their jobs, their school, their sports, and everything else. That gives them a chance to hunt on Sunday if they so choose. And one of the questions about safety, and when people ask me how safe is hunting, I look at insurance costs. Insurance companies, the last I heard, were trying to make money, lots of money. I can buy through membership with the OFAH, Canadian Shooting Sports, as my membership at a nominal fee, I get $3 million, or in this case, $5 million. I can buy an optional policy from the National Firearms Association for $5 million, and it costs me $9.95. If hunting and shooting sports were dangerous, an insurance company would not be making money at $9.95. Thank you for your time. I appreciate the opportunity to bring forward to you what we go through to make sure our people going out in the field are safety trained and have an opportunity to be trained further after leaving my class through the apprenticeship program. Thank you very much. Any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Art. Any questions for Mr. Haas? Rebecca, Councillor Hurd?
How are the updates presented to card-carrying hunters on a yearly basis?
Hard of hearing?
Card carrying.
Card carrying. Every year the ministry puts out a book. I think you got one here, Brian. Book of regulations, and it's also online. And we certainly recommend that the hunters check the changes in regulations every year, and particularly right before you go hunting, because they're in the regulations. It'll often tell you there's pending changes. And because regulations are printed in April. By October, they may have already passed into law. So the thing is to go online or go to Service Ontario, and they'll advise you of any changes that have taken place.
They're usually available at any place where you're buying licenses as well, too.
One of the problems we have is that the ministry and the government, as a cost reduction and encouraging people to use the computers much more,
Online.
is they print maybe less than one book for every 2.5 hunters.
Yeah.
So you got to get there early. When they arrive in April, you got to be at the issuer to grab them, because they only get a couple of boxes of them. So, yep.
Or feel comfortable using one of these.
Exactly. The thing is, it's about 80 pages long, and you want to read it all because you may be hunting deer, but there may be something in the front pages that affect deer hunting that you weren't aware of.
Yeah. So councillors shouldn't have a problem, because the package tonight here is 155 pages, so, yeah,
Right.
just in context.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, I don't see any other questions. Thank you very much, Art.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I am in the possession of a motion duly moved and seconded, so I'm going to introduce it. from this presentation. I have a motion moved by Rob Thompson and seconded by Doug Hutchison. Whereas hunting in Ontario is regulated by the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, and whereas individual municipalities may decide whether to permit Sunday gun hunting. Now therefore be it resolved that the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry be notified that the Municipality of West Grey supports and authorizes Sunday gun hunting in the Municipality of West Grey in accordance with provincial legislation. And further be it resolved that staff requests the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry to amend the appropriate regulation to include the Municipality of West Grey in the list of municipalities that authorize Sunday gun hunting in Ontario. Any questions or comments on the motion? Bev?
I'd move to table. I think we need more discussion at Committee of the Whole.
Very good. Councillor Cutting has moved to table. Do I have a seconder? Do I have a seconder? Seeing nobody to second that, that motion is not available. Is there any other questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Declare the motion carried. There we go. Very good. Okay. Moving on then, Janice. Now, Brian, is there, looks like there might be a couple of people wanting to, if you want to leave, yeah, Brian, we'll just take a couple of minutes while Janice is getting ready there. And if there was a little bit of a mass exodus.
I haven't even said anything.
You're doing good, yeah. Thank you, Art.
I did.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, Janice, I should have told them they've got to stay and listen to you, but yeah,
Oh, well.
their attention.
My 15 minutes of glory.
Very good. Ms. McKechnie wants to talk about the proposed Bruce Street reconstruction. Floor is
Yes.
yours, Janice.
My name is Janice McKechnie. We live on Bruce Street South. About 4 or 5 weeks ago, there was a presentation at the arena or at the community hall concerning the proposed upgrade. I attended it, and it was very well done, and I quite understand what's happening. My one concern was the fact that there will now be, at the end of this, just one sidewalk, and the sidewalk will be on the opposite side of the lighting, the current lighting. That, I suppose, is not a major concern because you feel that there is enough lighting to shine to the opposite side of the street. And so be it. The plans are made, everything has been passed in council. I guess the reason I decided to pursue this tonight, even though I feel you've all done a great job, I'm not here to complain or criticize. I just think going forward, if we look at what we would like to have for our community when it comes to safety issues and recreation, that perhaps we could take another look at or a closer look at having areas where it is safely to walk both at night and during the day. I can appreciate that there is a concern over trees and trees being removed or not being removed on Bruce Street and mostly the infrastructure that's going to be covered, right, when it comes to the gray water. But anyways, I think walking safely is also important. And because Bruce Street is part of a path around the outside area of the town, a lot of people do walk on it, and a lot of people bike and rollerblade and whatnot, both to the arena, to the facilities that are around the arena, and just as a sport. So that's all I'm asking, is that in the future you look at how the paths are and our footprint going forward, keeping people safe. You don't have to comment, it's okay.
No, I thank you very much for that and the concern on moving forward. I think that some of the issues that were brought forward at that public meeting are going to be and will be addressed by our Director of Public Works and the engineering firm that's on there. You know, one of the things, you know, you've said about the lighting, is there, on that street lighting that's there, is there a way that it can be adjusted or directed if it's needed or the requirement for that? I think there was a question here, if we could, Councillor Thompson wanted to have a comment. Rob?
Yeah, no, I was just going to add to that. I'm glad you brought this forward, Janice. As you know, on our street and Satter Street, the lighting's on my side of the street and the sidewalk's on the opposite side. And there's actually a fair bit of lighting that does go across there. But when you bring this forward, and I'm glad you did, that intersection of Bruce and Lambton, I've heard numerous people complain how dark that intersection is. And that seems to be a real safety concern. And I meant to mention that to you, Brent. Maybe we can look at that eventually with the engineer or so on, but there's an issue there with other people bringing that forward, that intersection is really dark, and the amount of traffic, and you know yourself how many people don't use the sidewalk when they leave the arena at 1 o'clock in the morning. It's up the middle of the road, and
That's
there's
true.
concern, you know, so
That's
I
true.
think something that should be looked at a little bit closer, especially that intersection.
Yes, thank you. The other thought that I had was concerning the strategic plan. And in it, or in the community vision, and this is for 20, or leading up to 2020, right? It's current until 2020.
Yes.
It says, "We strive to be a safe, unique, and welcoming community at the heart of the Saugeen Rivers, providing opportunities for all." So I'm just going to ask you to relook at how it's phrased, and we strive to be a safe and unique and welcoming community. And safe is the number one adjective here. Not criticizing, I'm just thinking, thinking
No.
out loud. So I thank you for your time. I'm going to be really short in more ways than one, but I think I'm all done now.
Yeah, thank you. I wasn't going to go there, but yeah, okay, you brought it up. All right, let's get.
And how do I turn this off?
We can do it from right here. There, yeah. Power to do that from here. Doug?
Maybe just to follow up, Janice, just to your concerns there. I did look at some of the other streets around too, and it does seem to be very common that we have lighting on one side of the street, sidewalk being plowed on the other side. On your section of street there on Bruce Street, there's actually lights on every pole, where some streets you don't get lights on every pole. In particular, up in our area, there isn't, and they're farther off the street. So, but I think in this where you are at, there does seem to be quite a bit light. But I agree with Mr. Thompson about the intersection, and part of the problem with that intersection is that there's stop signs on two of the roadways, but then the highway itself, when people try to cross there.
Three.
Three stop signs. It's when people try to cross the highway there, it becomes a little bit confusing because they think the traffic's going to stop and they'd want to cross if you're going from the west side of the road to the east side on that part where the highway is there. So it is a bit of a concern, but I don't know how you'd correct it unless you put another stop sign, which we talked about, and then you're stopping traffic. So, you know, that's my only concern there.
You've got a few minutes yet. Push the button there and you'll be live once more. There you go.
Okay, thank you. Talking about that intersection, is there any possibility that the amount of truck traffic going through there and the speed that they go around there many, many times a day, can that be monitored? I realize that's not your issue, Brent, but it's probably a police issue. And we did briefly talk about that before, right? Or just someone. I'd
You want to
spoken to
talk about
someone.
it, Brent? Or certainly there'll be upgrades and improvement sat in on some of the engineering that, pre-engineering on that, and the concern with the corner. It always has been. There will be, I can say, some adjustments to that corner to try and make it easier for trucks to go around and easier or safer for traffic going either way. Some of those things have been taken into account, Janice.
To be fair, I'd like them to be slower.
Yeah,
And, I mean, that's a different qualifier than safer.
Well,
Slower, right?
some of the-
Have them slow down. There are times when I suppose they are in a hurry, and maybe I'm exaggerating, but when you see a big truck going around and they're almost on 2 wheels, and there's like 10 wheels or whatever, it's very scary sometimes. They almost play chicken with some of the other people on the road, trucks or cars. It's the end of the day, so I'm complaining.
yeah,
But
No.
thank you for your time, I appreciate that.
very good. No, thank you, Janice. Okay. And we'll take those things further into account, no doubt, going forward. Our last delegation, Janet Wright, Officer, Administrator, Wellness and Emotional Support. God, you got an awful title there, Janice. How do you keep, Janet, how do you keep it going? From West for Youth. Janet has worked the last year and a half, give or take, and is here to give us a bit of a presentation and a little ask. Some of the literature for us. So the floor is yours there, Janet. And you'll have to push that button on the mic to get it up. There you are.
Perfect. Good evening, Mayor Eccles, council members, and guests. Thank you for allowing me to come and speak tonight. My name is Janet Wright, and I work at West for Youth Online as the office administrator. A little over a year ago, I heard my youngest child tell his story about mental health in front of an audience of 300 people. It was a night like no other. There were a total of 5 speakers telling their personal stories about mental health. Driving home that night, I said to my husband, I would love to start something like this in Grey and Bruce County because I believe it would make a difference. Little did I know that a few months later, I would be working at West for Youth and bringing my mission and goal to life. That's why I've started this event called Open Mic Night for Mental Health. Now you're probably wondering, what is Open Mic Night for Mental Health all about? Typically, an open mic is for musicians, where they come and they sing, they play their music, they get known. We've given a spin on that. Open Mic Night for Mental Health is a night where a selected group of individuals come and tell their stories about their personal growth and transformation. It is for all kinds of people who have a story and life lesson to share. It doesn't matter if they've never stepped foot on the stage, to professional speakers and everyone in between. Each open mic night for mental health will include 5 to 6 speakers sharing a personal story. Some of them will be funny, some of them are thought-provoking, but all of them are motivating. It's all about having fun and being truly social, while at the same time meeting new people who can relate to a story. At the end of the day, it's all about real people who have a real story and are a real inspiration. We believe that personal storytelling is one of the most powerful and one of the most positive things we can do for ourselves and our communities. Stories are how we have passed on our values and beliefs and made sense of the world. For the courageous people who step foot on the stage, sharing a personal story is a way to reframe the events and the experiences of their lives. It's a way for them to bring out the positive insights that they've learned and how they've grown. For some, it has brought laughter along the way, and for others, there have been tears. But one thing they all have in common is that their story is real and from the heart. For those sitting in the audience, they get to share each speaker's experience and life lesson. There's always something we take away from each individual that helps make our own lives a little better. As we listen to each speaker who shares a personal story from the heart, all the labels fall away. It doesn't matter because all we see are human beings. This is a way to break down the barriers of intolerance, bias, judgment, and difference. That's how it strengthens the teams we work with and the communities we live in. And in some not-so-small way, it's a way of helping break the stigma of mental health. Now more than ever, we need this. That's why our mission is to reach out to those who have a story to tell and want to share it with others. At the end of the day, they're not alone, and if they can touch one person or reach one person's life, that's one person that they've helped. At West for Youth, our mission statement is to promote wellness and emotional support to youth and provide an online resource where they can access counseling in a safe, secure, and confidential manner. Did you know that in Canada, an estimated of 1.2 million youth, this does not include adults, are affected by mental illness, yet only 20% of those youth are able to access help? Young Canadians are struggling to access mental health services, and our service helps hundreds of youth every year. And without fundraising dollars from events like this, youth would continue to struggle to access mental health services. The reason why I'm here tonight is to speak to you before you is because I would like to bring my next open mic night for mental health to Durham. Since doing this, people have suggested that I host this in different communities, and I couldn't agree more. So far, I've had one in Walkerton and Hanover, and next Monday night, Monday, March 26th, I'm hosting my next one at the Chester Community Center, and the cost of the halls have been donated each time. I would like to host my next one at the Durham Community Center on Monday, March 28th. Would the Municipality of West Grey consider donating the use of the hall for that night? I would love to have your support for this event, as well as we all know mental health could someday affect us or someone we love. Thank you for your time and consideration. Do I have any questions?
Any questions for Janet on this? Sorry, Bev?
Are you thinking of the town hall or the community center?
The Community Center.
How many youth did you have out at, say, in Walkerton?
This is open to all ages. So
Okay,
this,
so how many?
at our first one, we had just shy of 100 people. And at the last one we held in January at the Hanover Legion, we had around 50 people. But unfortunately, as we all know, weather in Grey Bruce does not always cooperate. And unfortunately, we didn't have the turnout we had. The one I have coming up this Monday night at the Chester Community Center, I'm expecting a large crowd. I have put out feelers, or have reached out to all our first responders. So all the local fire departments within a half-hour radius, our West Grey Police, the Hanover Police, the OPP, Bruce County Paramedics, Grey County Paramedics, and all the schools within the area. Because of the speakers that I do have coming, I'm giving them a longer platform to talk and tell their stories. One of the speakers I have is Spencer Wright from Chesley. He's coming to talk about gender identity. I have Doug Wright coming to talk. He's speaking on a dad's perspective of having a child that is transitioned from a female to a male. I also have Matt McCoy coming from Own Sound. He's coming to talk about drug addiction. And then I have Bill Russ coming from the Wyerton area. He is also going to be talking about PTSD, and that's where he's going to be reaching out to the first responders.
And how much is our community center for rental?
Go ahead. Or Rob, or whatever. Go ahead, Carrie, that's your...
The hall would be $125 for the first hour and $50 for the next hour.
And so how long would you need it for?
Typically, this runs from 7 to 9:30.
So,
So it'd be an hour.
200, yeah.
I'll pay for your hall.
Thank you very much, greatly appreciated. Any other questions?
Not after that, no.
I will say that one thing that I have done at all the open mics so far is I've put out a questionnaire to everyone to fill out. And it is basically just, well, I can show you to you here. It just basically just helps us moving forward with each one. How did they hear about us? So social media, radio, word of mouth. I also do what what do you think of this event? And then I want them to evaluate it. I also give a list of the speakers, and I want them to check off, which speaker they, were really impressed with, and if they would like to hear that speaker again. If they know of somebody, or if they have somebody that is interested in speaking, to please come forward and tell me. And then geographically, where are they from? And then the other one was additional comments. And that's where I got a lot of my information from with regards to moving it around to different communities, just because, we're not saying we're going to keep it in Walkerton. Mental health affects everybody geographically, of all ages. And so if I can help one community, one person, that's all that matters. And that's what my goal is to bring awareness to mental health. It's my passion.
My eldest daughter has mental health issues. She suffers from anxiety and has been addicted and does the same thing now. 5 years ago, she got clean and sober and is now a registered psychotherapist that specializes in mental health and addiction, and runs an addiction home in Toronto, a recovery home in Toronto.
Yep.
It's very near and dear to my heart. I know exactly what some of these youth go through, and sometimes they have nobody to talk to. Even if they have people to talk to, it's a long and tiresome road, and I'm 100% behind it, and that's why I'm offering it to you, because I know that council does not give facilities free of charge. We can't do that because we'd be inundated with people, but I think it's a very strong initiative and an extremely good program, and I'm glad to see you're running it, and I'll gladly donate it.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Rob, or is it Doug? Rob, you got a comment? Go ahead.
Just quickly, the Durham event, who's going to be doing your speaking? Do you know?
I have a couple speakers that I have to touch base with. I'm just in the process of reaching out to them. The nice thing about it now is because I'm getting known for doing this, that we're actually getting people touching base with us now and saying, I have this story and I would love to come and tell it. So I do have one lady that has reached out to me, and she suffers from bipolar as well. So, yep, thank you.
Okay. Doug? Councillor Hutchison.
Janice, thank you for your presentation. Yeah, it is an issue, and I mean, I don't think there's too many of us that don't have someone been touched by mental health issues.
Yep.
So I was going to suggest, because we sort of have a policy where we don't give out our facilities free, that we maybe look at doing a donation from one of our funds where we have done donations to some of our local groups and organizations, or I'd be open to even doing a personal donation. So whatever council wants to do with that, that's fine. I know Ms. Cutting's already putting some money forward, so yeah.
Well, you got to be a little quicker. She's already got the checkbook out over here. So I was just wondering if, I think my consensus here from the council, we're certainly supportive, and it seems like it's going to be a council initiative led by Councillor Cutting, and I hope I wouldn't offend her, but I would like to put some funding back towards Ms. Cutting. It is a full council, so
Thank you.
there'll be a slight collection being made, and
Oh, maybe I'll make some money.
One other thing I just want to make note of is that
we'll work it out.
we're here to have this open to all people, all ages. For instance, like Spencer will be our youngest one, so he's 20. Our oldest speaker will be in his 60s. And men, women, we don't discriminate against race, whatever. You're more than welcome. Anybody's more than welcome to reach out to me and come and tell their story, because that's what it's all about, is to help each other get through this and let everybody know that, you know what, you're not the only one going through this, because we all have a story to tell. And if we can help each other and help one another, that's all that matters.
Well, I think you've hit it on the head, and if I can be so bold to speak, that it's an individual, each individual has their individual problems, but it's to get through it and to get over it, we need a community.
Absolutely.
It's not an individual thing that can be cured individually.
Yep.
So, and it takes a community, and I think that's, opening it up, that every one of us has a role to play in the health, certainly mental health, of each individual within the community. ourselves. So
Thank you.
I say thank you very much, Janet, for spearheading this. It's obviously tiresome, but I think
It's all worth it.
from your case, you're finding great satisfaction and gratification in it, and wish you best of luck.
Thank you.
And if I can just keep speaking for about another 5 seconds, Bev will be signing the check, and you can pick that up on the way out.
If anyone is interested in coming to next Monday night's event in Chesley, you can contact me. I do have tickets, and we can also put tickets aside for you at the door. So we'd love everyone to come out and just listen to the stories.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we will hopefully see you if our committee of the whole meeting is over by 6 o'clock. We'll be able to get, council will be able to get up to Chesley by 7 o'clock. Oh, where the nice part about it is when we're going to Chesley from here, we don't have to cross the bridge, so we'll be fine getting to the arena. Okay. All right. Thank you. Did you want to? Janet, don't quick. Don't. Oh, she's got to get her jacket. So, all right. We'll continue on with the meeting. Or does council want to take a short little break? Yeah. Okay. Let's take a 5-minute break here. Get her legs stretched before we hit in. Are you still okay, Carrie? Yeah. Let's get back to the regular part of the agenda. Don't think that there's any other business or business arising. We will have one other point of business coming up, I believe. We're down then to the Director of Finance, Carrie, and you don't have a very long written report here. You just got big numbers in front of us. The voucher report there is there. Do we have that motion? And I'll introduce it, and then if there's any questions. So I have a motion moved by Doug Hutchins and second by Rob Thompson. Be it resolved that the Director of Finance Treasurer be authorized to pay the accounts presented as voucher number 5, 2018 in the amount of $1,925,985.62 of the Municipality of West Grey. Any questions or comments on the vouchers? Rebecca.
I was just going to ask about the
Excuse me.
vacant Durham BIA credit. Can we also discuss, maybe this needs to come up at another time as well, but the commercial vacant tax rebate that we provide, and I know that is a county initiative, but also at the Elmwood Politician Day, we talked about an ag tax status. So maybe now is not the most appropriate time to bring it up, but it is noted as a rebate today under the tax class for Durham BIA. So.
Any quick comments on it, Carrie, or? Yeah.
Yeah, it is a county-wide, if we want to make changes to it. I believe it was discussed last month, maybe at the county treasurer's meeting. Becky
Yes.
attended. I wasn't able to attend. I was away. But it is something I think that is gaining a little bit more steam. I'm not sure if anything's coming forward. There's different steps that need to be taken, including public meetings to consult
Yes.
your business communities if you are going to make any changes. But I know it was a topic of discussion amongst the treasurers as well, to see if there was any appetite to move it forward with changes to it.
And very similar to the farm tax rebate, I mean, those tax ratios were all set at the county level. So it's got to be, it's a county-led initiative. I mean, we can put our input, and probably the best time would be at the committee of the whole meeting on Monday to talk about that. Yes, there's some, and I knew there was going to be some. I was away and couldn't attend, but I think there's been enough individuals write in the media about some of my comments already on the farm tax, but it's certainly a very complicated, it's not easy just to come up with a magic bullet and resolve it. Very similar to the vacated tax, retail, commercial, industrial as well too is another one that's out there. Further, go ahead, Rebecca.
So will Becky be able to present a report or something on it maybe at our next committee of the whole?
I would imagine so, yes.
Fantastic.
Any other questions? And for anybody out there that thinks every couple of weeks that Kerry's spending almost $2 million, in there is our disbursements on the tax that we collect from 4 Grey County. So that has a large portion of where that disbursement went. If there's no other questions, then I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Very good. Any other questions, Carrie? And I don't know whether that would come up. I guess maybe that will come up in the clerk's report, will it? I thought I saw one, or yeah, the clerk's report would have been the request on the Durham Arena. Yeah. But that's not on the clerk, that's down. Yeah, after Public Works, yeah. On the licensing thing for the Durham Arenas on the clerk's report. Okay, all right. Enjoy your curling game, Kerry. I know that's where you're off to. Doug mentioned the All-Ontario playoffs and whatnot. I know that, yeah, the curlers are just entering into that now, right? Yeah. Kerry has been an All-Ontario curler at one point in time, and the picture is at the curling club. Okay, we're down to Public Works. Welcome tonight, Brent. And the first one we have is, do you want to have any discussion on this, or do we have a motion to introduce it? How be we introduce? No, we have the bylaw. No, that's in the bylaw coming up. So just the presentation of the report is here. There's no, I think the recommendation is supports and the bylaw 40. So Brent, any other questions on Brent's report here before we get to the bylaw? Yeah, that's fine. No, I thought there was a resolution, but no, that's good. On the fairly good report, a lot of scientific reports, engineering on that. And the recommendation is Brent would certainly like to support the change in bylaw number 40 for the speed limit set for the Ganelg, Egremont, West Grey, Southgate. It's Egremont, and that's what it'll always be at Marshall Heights. Okay. Well, if there's no questions, the report is very, very, very well done. That's good. Sorry, I guess the first one was on the Artemisia Ganelg Town line. The second one's on the Southgate Ganelg Town line. Both very similar. We've had, and Brent has done, as I said, a lot of research on that and done some engineering on it, and those are the recommendations we have there. There's nothing on the speed limits. We're good. We'll move, there'll be no questions when we get to the bylaw. Third one is the American Water. This was tabled a while ago. It's the third bylaw. We've had some comments back. Nothing earth-shattering or anything there. Some minor adjustments that our lawyer has suggested, and I think agreed upon by American Water. They've been adjusted within the agreement. Brent?
I believe if, I thought council did receive the report that had the color changes in it, so it was easier to at least reference to. Otherwise, you would have been lost trying to figure out where everything was. So, no, the biggest thing was an escape clause, which I never thought of. It was never been in our report, and they agreed or came back with was actually my idea that I was going to say 6 months, but then in all fairness, he said, Brent, to end it in 6 months, you're going to be struggling to get somebody in to get it tendered, to close out all that stuff. He said a year is probably more reasonable, and I kind of agree with him. This is a very big, to recreate a tender of this magnitude for this type of work would be very time consuming, and to get it out there and have even a contractor facilitate, be able to do the work Like, you'd have to tender that fairly quickly to have somebody in line, so you have that year to get somebody in line to take over that work. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but it is there.
Very good. Any other questions in on that, Rebecca?
I was just going to comment, some of the deficiencies that American Water was noted by the Minister of Environment that you addressed, stating that they had turnover in employee. Do they ever notify us of that turnover? Because it appeared that there were some logbooks that had not been kept during that time period of turnover for them. I guess as the owner of, isn't that right? Is that what American Water had described to you as a reason?
So what happened, or one of their employees had to suddenly leave through health reasons.
Okay.
They brought an employee down from Moosonee, it's just an oversight on their part, that this gentleman he was entering data into the logbook, but it wasn't precise enough. There wasn't enough information. He wasn't given time, and he wasn't putting his signature sometimes against it. So it was a weakness on, it's not that he wasn't doing it, he just wasn't entering the proper data that the MOE, part of the requirements of like the time of that he did the check, and there's a lot of information. So that gentleman, I believe, was supposed to have been trained in Walkerton for that particular part of the job function on proper logbook training.
Do we know if that's been completed?
I talked to American Water 2 weeks ago, and they indicated that it was supposed to happen last week. I haven't followed up. I did follow up with the MOE because of Councillor Hutchison's asking what happened there. And he said it wasn't a major issue, it's just that it was lacking proper information that's required by the Act. So it's just that he had to be, it's just one of those things. It wasn't that we were in jeopardy of having bad water. That wasn't the case. It was just the proper documentation in the logbook that they required.
And so if I could just, one last question. Do you oversee that as a second step, or no? Is this all American Water?
American Water get audited by, or we do, through the Ministry of Environment, through the annual reporting. So that is, they are scrutinized by MOE. We have the contractor, so we go to the contractor and say, and I did follow up with it. I asked him, when are we going to get these deficiencies rectified? He said immediately. So MOE gave us 30 days to reply back to their email. I did, and they already know what steps have been taken to rectify those deficiencies that were on the report.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Okay, very good. All right, so that is bylaw number 18. We'll deal with it when it comes back, if there's nothing else. The next one was the Newstead Sewage Lagoon report. Anything further on that, Brent? It's there.
Just FYI to council to let them know for informational purposes.
Yep. I think as is required, we are the ones that, we being council, that if those aren't being looked after, we're the ones that are in control of it and need to be held accountable to it, I guess is the way it is. So information's there for us and everything looks good. Okay. Anything else, Brent?
One last thing I just came to know. Regarding the Southgate Glenelg Town Line, Your Worship, there was a request for a delegation MTO for luminaires to be placed at the intersection. We were unsuccessful, as you well know, of getting a delegation request in Toronto. I have since contacted the Ministry of Transportation regional manager and discussed with her regarding a request for luminaires at that intersection. She led me to believe that that was not met the criteria of the Ministry of Transportation. Ministry of Transportation usually set up luminaires at upper tier, for example, Ministry of Transportation, and then the upper tier being the county, county road intersections, but not lower tier intersections. That's their policy.
Right.
However, they did say that West Gray and Southgate could get together and purchase luminaires should we want to do that. I was hoping to get a cost to have council so that you know they're not cheap. I would estimate that you're probably looking at around $50,000 for luminaires for that intersection. To bring hydro, the frangible bases on the posts, the LED lighting, and that sort of thing. So I'm estimating,
So we want
if I recall from my predecessor, I do recall them not being that cheap.
Yeah, but from my understanding, 80% of the requirement will be to the Southgate side, so we can proportion it very much that way.
Anyways, I just wanted to let.
Yep, we'll
know-
continue. My suggestion to you, and I think speaking for council, let's get some numbers, and it's not something that we're going to do tomorrow or that nature, but if we can find out some numbers and at a committee of the whole meeting coming up, but maybe put the, and give us a bit of time to put it out to Southgate Council as well too. That's what we found out. Maybe they'll find something else out, because I do know in talking to some of the councillors there and their Director of Public Works, they'd be, interested in discussing it and trying to figure out what the actual numbers
And
are.
actually, I noticed Councillor DeBreen here this evening. That's why.
Oh, I didn't notice that somebody was here from Southgate.
That's why I wanted to
didn't-
bring that forward as additional information, because it was something that was requested through a report that
Yep.
the roads manager from Southgate provided me.
So we will try and get a bit more information on, some of the numbers and see where it gets to. So do a little more work on that portion of it. Okay. All right. Thanks, Brent. Any questions for the director? I don't know whether he's got a curling game he's got to be off to or not as well, too. Nope, he doesn't. Okay. You can stay for the rest of the meeting then if you want. Right, yeah, he had the chance. No, he's stuck now. Down to the clerk's report. And in our clerk's report, the first one is a request, and I've got it. I'm going to, there was a motion here, and see how you want to deal with it. We'll put it onto the floor and then can discuss. I have a motion moved by Rob Thompson and seconded by Doug Hutchison. Be resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Gray hereby approves licensing the Durham District Community Centre stands for or on Friday, March 30th, 2018 for the Durham Thundercats Game 6 playoffs, if necessary, and to prevent the sale of canned beer as requested by the Durham Thundercats. Any questions or comments on the motion? Doug, Councillor Hutchison.
My only concern is that they better be there if we're going to put this through.
Oh. No pressure there to our Thundercat team. Yeah. The comeback is, yes. They are up against some tough opposition. There's no question about that. But that's what the T-Cats have always done, is clawed to the top. Bev.
When there's beers in a situation like this, it's like anything that, I guess, where there's alcohol in our arenas, et cetera. Do they have to have police or security of some sort?
Yes, at that point in time, they would have to,
Okay.
because it would be over that threshold of the numbers, and I think that's, the expectation of what the numbers are. But yes, they would.
So they'd have to hire security for that
Yep.
night? Okay.
See what they had. That would be very similar. I know that when minor hockey did it, when the Montreal Canadian alumni game was here, that's the way it was, that's where this comes from, the predication for it. Okay? Any other questions? Call the question then. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Very good. Okay. The next one is the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority seeking support for the provincial government to increase their donation. I have a motion moved by R. Herget, seconded by Bev Cutting. How much tape have you got there, Adam? Because this one's a long one. The Council of the Municipality of West Grey recognizes that there is only one taxpayer supporting all levels of government and that these are challenging times for the province of Ontario with respect to its budget. We also recognize that transfer payment funding cuts to the conservation authorities were initially implemented in 1995 and have subsequently never been increased in the last 22 years since, remaining at the same $1995 value, with the only change being the further cut of several $100,000 directed at the two largest authorities, Durham Region and Grand River. As a member municipality of our local conservation authority, we followed with interest the multi-year review of the Conservation Authorities Act, in which the consistent message was heard from the virtually all stakeholders that there was a need for the province of Ontario to address the chronic underfunding of conservation authorities. We wish to point out that while the base funding for conservation authorities comes through MNRF and the MOE and CC for drinking water source protection, the work that conservation authorities do in partnership with these ministries also benefits other provincial ministries through various programs and projects of the authority, i.e. education, health, agriculture, food and rural affairs, municipal affairs and housing, tourism, recreation and culture, infrastructure and community safety. Further, we observed that during the debate on Bill 139 addressing the proposed amendments to the Conservation Authorities Act, MPPs of all parties were supportive of the work of conservation authorities and acknowledged the need to address the chronic underfunding. We also observed that the subsequent passage of Bill 139 received all party support so as to be passed in the legislature in December of 2017 and received royal assent immediately thereafter. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby requests that the Province of Ontario demonstrate their all-party support for the conservation authorities and the work that they do on behalf of all ratepayers by increasing the transfer payment allocation through reallocation of dollars from other benefiting provincial ministries or other new revenues, i.e. carbon cap and trade revenues, and that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey directs staff to forward a copy of this letter and resolution to the Ministries of Finance, MNRF, MOE and CC, Education, Health, Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs, Municipal Affairs and Housing, Tourism, Recreation and Culture, Infrastructure, and the Community Safety, local MPs and MPPs in Association of Municipalities of Ontario, Conservation Ontario, and the member municipalities of its local conservation authority. Any questions or comments on this lengthy resolution? It has been supported by, I would say, the majority of municipalities across the province. Rebecca, Councillor Herget.
I was going to say that I attended the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority meeting when this was brought up about the funding being stagnated for so many years. And we understand that municipalities locally pay for the conservation authorities a large portion, and you can see that by tonight's financials. So this is important for our local governments to speak up and ask the province when we definitely know that there are provincial programs that are impacting our budget for tax purposes, that the province is actually keeping some money that should be coming our way. So we need to have a good voice and ask when a case like this presents itself where it's been stagnated funding for so long. So I definitely am in support of this.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Very good. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Very good. And I think that's it from the clerk's report. Thank Mark for getting that in. There's that. That then will move us down to, if I'm not mistaken, bylaws. Am I correct? So we have 4 bylaws. And this bylaw, 2000. Now I know what it. Okay. The first bylaw is dealing with the agreement with American Water. Moved by Bev Cutting, seconded by Rob Thompson. Be it resolved that bylaw number 18, 2018, being a bylaw to enter into an operational maintenance and management agreement between American Water Canada Corp. And the Municipality of West Grey, be now read a third time, passed as amended and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Usually bylaws are read first, second, and third time, but this was read first and second, and then sent back to for a review. So that's why this one is being, at this time, just a third time. Okay? Any questions or comments? Good report back, and the advice from our legal have been incorporated, as Brent had said earlier, into the bylaw. Any questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Very good. Next one's bylaw 40. Is dealing with speed rate on a couple of our shared town lines. I have a motion moved by R. Hergott, seconded by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that bylaw number 40, 2018, being a bylaw for setting the rate of speed of motor vehicles in the municipality of West Grey, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions on this motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. And then the next one is bylaw number 42. Is appointing an integrity commissioner. I have a motion moved by R. Hergott, seconded by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that bylaw number 42, 2018, being a bylaw to appoint an integrity commissioner for the municipality of West Grey, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions or comments on this motion? This is a partnership with the county and 7 other of the municipalities, I believe it is, or maybe 8, on a joint integrity commissioner. No questions? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Very good. And the last one is bylaw number 43. Sorry, not the last one, but last one on that page. Is a zoning, and this was recommended by the Committee of the Whole Planning for approval. A motion moved by Doug Hutchison, seconded by Rob Thompson. Be it resolved that bylaw number 43, 2018, being a bylaw to rezone Lot 18, East Part, Lot 17, Concession 16, former Township of Normanby, Shank, zoning ZA 0518, in the municipality of West Grey, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. As I said, this was recommended for passing by the committee. Any questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay, bylaw number 42. Or sorry, 44. I bounce in here. Yeah. No, my mistake for saying 42. It was at 44 we were at. Is for appointment of a municipal bylaw enforcement officer. I have a motion moved by Rob Thompson, seconded by Doug Hutchison. Be it resolved that bylaw number 44, 2018, being a bylaw to appoint a municipal law enforcement officer to enforce bylaws of the municipality of West Grey, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions on this one? Rebecca, on the motion?
Yes, so I was just curious of the training, the certification of Jennifer Watson. Do we have any certification for her? Is she certified? Do we know that?
I can't say what her certification level is. I know that she has taken some, whether it, but that's as far as that I would say. I know that she has taken some courses, but I don't know, and they could be all, or they could be 2 out of 200. I know that she has taken some.
So my next question is, has she had a criminal background check of any kind? There are some ramifications for the Bill 139 that it allows access onto people's property without a warrant. And so that being said, there was a provision that if she needed police backup, she would make that contact and so on. But we should also have a responsibility to our ratepayers that we are sending qualified individuals that have a clear background check. There's no issues with this person. So those are my 2 hesitations on passing this right at the moment. But then the last page, page 153, has Steve McQueen as the mayor of Grey Highlands, and I believe his name is Paul McQueen. So we'll just make
That's just
that.
how he acts.
We'll just make that change too. So I would present a motion to table this at this time, just so we could clarify her qualifications and put all of our ratepayers at ease.
So you're making a motion to table. Do I have a seconder for that? Rob? Okay. Move to table bylaw 44, 2018, moved by Councillor Erget, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Motion to table goes without discussion. So I'll say, all those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, it is tabled. I'll let and send that one back. And staff, I think Kathy's got that written in there, just to get clarification and or understanding of what we had. Yep, substantiation. Okay, bylaw number 45, confirming bylaw. Should be just a one-pager. Rebecca, before I introduce this one?
Yes, can I ask a question? Is this the appropriate time to bring back the parks minutes that were withheld from the consent?
No,
Okay.
one more bylaw, and then we'll do that under new business there.
Okay, great,
Yep.
thanks.
Okay. Yes, so I have a motion moved by R. Herget, seconded by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that bylaw number 45, 2018, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the March 19, 2018 council meeting, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions on this motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Okay. New business, and that was the minutes that were pulled. I know, is there any other new business? Then we'll deal with the minutes of the park meeting February, what'd you say, 7th? Comments? What concerns? Councillor Herget.
So there was some discussion in the minutes that were reported that I feel were maybe just conversational. They were not a motion or a recommendation to council as such. There was a large tangent away from the discussion that I was there for, and I don't feel that that the minutes should have been recorded that way. So in particular, it's not under the purview of the parks to decide what project other service groups will take on or not. They also have a voice. They could, reach out to those other club members and so on. But really, if that's their project, that's their project. It has nothing to do with parks or even West Grey Council. We would look for partnerships on our own projects that we must do, but I don't feel that it should be recorded that way.
Bev?
Actually, as a delegation that you were there, this was part of that discussion because Rebecca, as the delegation for the Lions Club, brought up the fact that there had been other groups interested in doing some fundraising, and so we were just presenting the different projects that get recommended to us that they would like to have done. For example, escape parks, et cetera, I think that's what you're referring to. And that was put in there because if the service groups are looking for any kind of projects that they'd like to take on, then it's recorded in the minutes that that's some of the projects that have been approached to the Parks Committee to ask if there's a possibility of doing them at some point, that could be done.
So my delegation to the Parks Committee was for a review and comment of the Heritage Bridge approach work and lighting. And so as such, the conversation should have been held to that discussion. And then my next, we won't dwell on that. We can move forward. I would like to see that that's taken out of the minutes. It was not germane to the conversation. We were having a discussion about the Durham Heritage Walkway Bridge and the potential partnership there. Anyway, next topic there was brought up about trails and a walkthrough. Will this be brought up by Brent? Will our insurance company be there? There were lots of volunteers that were interested at a meeting that we had with the insurance company. I just want to follow up and make sure, I know Parks is under pressure for their budgets and so on, and we want to make sure that the trails get up and being used and signage and so on. So I think it's really healthy to invite everyone to come forward that was interested to go on the walkthrough of the of our trail system. That way we can get all the signage and so on.
Okay, where are we at with that? Bev?
Well, this was specifically for the insurance company to come and walk through so we have an idea of what the signs are. So it would be Brent, Steve, and whoever comes as part of the insurance company, right? Yeah, so.
Yeah, be Cowan, whoever from
That's
Cowan
not a
said.
whole group thing to walk through the trails and see if that's their job to do that, so.
Yeah.
That's what that's about.
So I'm asking, could that be opened up to an invitation to the public that maybe has an interest in volunteering and so on, that they could come
Not for that
and be part of
particular-
that?
Not for that particular thing, that's just for signage, and the trails are not open yet, so this needs to occur so that the proper signage can go up, so that the public can enjoy the trails. Until that happens, they're not open, so.
Right, but there was interest from the public to volunteer on the maintenance of them, and maybe if they joined the insurance company at that moment, then it wouldn't be a waste of time. It actually, we would be showing other people how to do maybe a maintenance log or some sort of visual inspection and so on, that it wouldn't actually take human resources from West Grey away.
Brent?
Worship, with all due respect, Councillor Ingrid, I think it would be best if we left it with myself, Steve, and the Cowan insurer. I think it would process quicker, that we can get through it, and they can see, list the deficiencies. Once we have the deficiencies identify that there needs to be some trimming done or anything like that, that's when we can then look at engaging the public to assist with things like that. But I think it's important that we nail down the minimizing our risk by getting the proper signs in place. And it could very well be helping put up the signs too. So I think it'd be better if we kept it to a minimum. And I'm only looking at, just because time's of the essence, I would like to get through it fairly quickly without having a lot of questions from the other people. No disrespect to the public, but keep it within our core first, and then proceed from there.
And I think, well, I know I agree with you on that one, certainly, that, you know, that's why we're having Cowans come in, because of their expertise on that, and not to get it confused and get into debate with cones, or, well, no, this tree limb should be, no, you know, there it is. And then bring in our volunteer, you know, either organize a volunteer group and/or, you know, it's left to staff to make it absolute. So get a plan of attack of what we need. It, you know, it could be a lot of heavy equipment. I don't think it is, but we'll find out when they have their recommendations for us to make the trail safe for public. Further. Yep, Go ahead.
Okay. Just curious, the minutes of the Parks meeting, who the recording secretary was, and is that the same person as the chair? Yes? Okay.
Sure.
Very good. And the fundraising is no longer for the construction of the bridge, so that was in the minutes of Parks for the February 7th as well, so that should be deleted. And that would be all for the corrections.
Recommended. We'll let Bev take that back to the committee. Yep. Okay, good. Thanks, Rebecca. All right. Any other new business? Nope. Okay. We're down addendums, notice of motion or direct motions. Wasn't informed of any, so we're good that way. All right. Closed session, I don't think there's any need for another closed session. Question period. At this point, if there was anything on the agenda this evening, and you have a question, I've opened it up to the audience. And, ooh, this is new. I've got hands going up all over the place. So, Beth, start with Ms. Hamilton. I think it's the gray one over there. Yeah.
One that says talk on it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
there's a good chance. Yes.
Thank you,
go ahead,
Mayor
Beth.
Eccles and Council, for the opportunity for a question. So if I could wind back to the start of our meeting today in our first delegation regarding permitting hunting on Sundays. I was surprised and I was disappointed that the motion was passed today. As a resident, my expectation today was to hear the delegation and have opportunity for public consultation and also the opportunity for a countering delegation. Thank you, Councillor Cutting, for requesting that it could be tabled so we could have further discussion. So I guess my question to the Mayor and Council is, how was the public to participate in this conversation? And was there any meaningful public consultation other than what was presented in the agenda?
I have not been aware of any open public comments on it, Beth. I've had comments, it's something that's been in the public now for, 10, 12 years. I've heard comments on a personal basis, but no, we haven't had a public comment on it. Anything else, Bev?
Well, I agree with you 100%. It was far too fast a decision. We have struggled with this decision for a number of years, as you know. I mean, it was turned down 5-6 years ago and
12 years ago, Bev.
12 years ago, and wow.
Yep.
And there's a number of residents who would have filled this auditorium the same way if they had realized that that kind of decision was going to be made tonight. I get, like I said, emails every single day for the last, I don't know how many, where hunters are on their property and dogs are running and we're supposed to be nestled in nature. Why do we need Sunday hunting? If they really want to hunt more, then go after the MNR to get increased tags. None of that discussion was done here. And I'm afraid of the backlash because I know that people are going to go, oh my God, what did you do? And I'm telling you, it's going to happen.
I do know that it was passed very similar in most municipalities. I'm not aware of a huge number of the municipalities that passed the Sunday bylaw that had open public meetings and debate and, however you want to say it. One municipality that's very close to us did it 10, 12 years ago exactly the same way that it was done here tonight. So, yeah. Rob?
Yeah, and a lot of other places the same way. South Bruce Peninsula was the same. The decision was, and that's why we're here at council to make the decision for the public. But Bev, you're saying you're getting all these emails from everybody that are, you know, and I understand, and I know they're probably the group you're speaking of, and there's been issues throughout that little group. But if these people knew about Sunday hunting, I'm sure that you would have told them that this meeting was coming on tonight, and they should have been here if they wanted to argue the point. So.
Normally, when there's something of that magnitude, we take it back and we discuss it. We do not pass it as a resolution passed in an instant with a group here that's on one side. Normally, we go back because we're here to represent both sides of the municipality, not one group. And we should have had a discussion at a table with this council and listened to all sides and expressed all sides, not just had one group come and say, are you going to pass it tonight? And I was shocked that it was done tonight, actually.
Well, I think some of the people, I was out on Facebook, a lot of it, and a lot of information was shared throughout the community, so I'm sure if they wanted to be here, they would have been here.
Question's been, this is question period, it's not a debate, so I think you've got some of the information again. Any other questions, Beth?
Excuse me. So now that the motion's passed, does the public have any opportunity to revisit the motion, or is it a done deal? Like, what's the process if there's concern in the community?
To a motion to reconsider
Yes.
could be brought up at a future council meeting, yes.
At a future council. Okay. Thank
Yep.
you. I'll follow up on that. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Bill? Mr. Wilkinson? There you go. You're on.
Some of my thunder was stolen there, but I got home at around 5 o'clock tonight and looked to see what was happening at the council meeting. I saw hunting. I looked at the website for the Ontario Federation of Anglers and Hunters, and there was an email on there to address Mark Turner, every one of them to send in an email saying they were in favor of a motion being presented tonight. I didn't think that was quite right. So I must say that I have hunted. I'm not a hunter. My belief is that if we gave all the animals a gun, maybe we could make it easier to fight against each other on that. I think, you know, I was shocked, quite honestly, when the motion came up tonight. You don't have a full council, number one. There was no discussion. The people came in who were not from West Grey, and I'm totally disappointed. Bev was the only one to speak up for it, and that's fine. I just have a couple more points. I do understand the risk for safety, but if you want to see hunters, and I know they're not the good hunters, but you should go down to your own Saugeen, the Durham Conservation Area down here before hunting season, and you'll find hunters in there. I went in there on 2 Saturday mornings about 7 o'clock, and they were hunting squirrels and chipmunks. Okay. That's a campground down there, and so I looked on the website, and sure enough, they're able to hunt in there. They can hunt in there. You know, there are people in the park later on in the year who are there. There are a tremendous number of people who walk through the park. I just don't understand the mentality. Just have a couple more points, and I won't. You know, with the problem with guns and hunting today doesn't have to be exaggerated in any way. I mean, across North America, Canada, we've got problems with guns. I would think this would be the least likely item that you would allow to be brought up tonight. The second question was the fact that we don't have a full council, and yet this motion was made up beforehand. Mark's not here. I don't know whether Mark made it up before he went on vacation, but it does leave a bad taste in my mouth. And I'm sorry that I didn't have time to make a presentation to bring up the other points, but I certainly think that it should be approached again and with reconsideration, because I believe you're going to have a tremendous number of people questioning it. I do know of hunters who said the same thing, that why would, if they, you know, they like hunting, that's fine, they do what they're supposed to do, and, you know, they're good hunters if that's what they are, but they don't need to hunt on Sunday, and why? Why? The other thing I just noticed in their website of the OFAH was that people, how was this worded? I guess I'll pass on that motion because it's not coming to me as to why. If I had it written down, I'd be able to tell you. And I apologize for any feeling of sadness for you people, because I think that's one of the worst decisions you've made this term. Thank you.
One thing I will say, Bill, when most delegations are here, Mark, just for clarification, Mark asks, you know, do you have a motion or how do you want to express? So those motions are available here if council members want to have a motion come forward from the delegation. And that is not something that is new or inventive. That's how we've operated since I've been on council, and that's, you know, since West Grey came into effect after the second amalgamation. So that's the way it is. Sometimes there are a feeling of something coming forward from a delegation to support the delegation or not support, or however it is. That's why the motion on process, I'm just saying, that's why it would have been there.
But this was an important issue, whether you realize that or not. The point,
Yes.
now you made me think of the other point that I was going to say about the Federation.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I looked in there. There was only 2 municipalities in all of 2017 who have gone this route. Some of the facts in what was presented, I mean, I would suggest to you that maybe, I know good hunters think they do everything nicely and so on, and you can make a big case for it, and it's a big business, and I appreciate that, but it's just not fair to not have the other side represented, at least, even if the motion was made up beforehand, you could have listened to it. Thank you.
Yep. Just to be clear, when you say that, Bill, there's the map that we were given. That orange piece is in there. Those are the municipalities that have. Yes, in 2017, I agree with you, there was only 2, but up until that point in time, there was 178 or 177, you know, that had already
Needless
put
to
that
say,
into
most
place.
of the
Just, you know, not-
most of the places that have a population don't want it. I mean, we're getting there, whether we like it or not, people are coming up here. I think it's a really bad decision that was made.
Yep, very good, fair. Any other questions? Go ahead, I'll stay with the audience first, Rebecca. Yep. And just for the minutes, your name, sir, because I'm...
Yeah, Mark Mariash. Yeah, thanks for letting me
Thanks.
speak. I appreciate it, Kevin and council. Yeah, like just in regards to your map, well, no, I want to back up a little bit. Definitely disappointed. Very disappointed. The fact that it's a smaller council, we didn't have a chance to delegate. I had 1 hour to prepare a few, small points. Where's the consultation? Where, what harm does it do to do a little bit of consultation? I mean, speaking to your map, it looks like there's areas around it that other municipalities are accepting Sunday hunting, but to me, it's an exclusionary practice for the benefit of a smaller number of people, to the detriment of hikers, naturalists, birders, horseback riders. I mean, why not offer them a place to go on a Sunday? Because they can't go to those other places now. That would seem to make sense, right? What little time I had to do, it was only to speak to one point, that gentleman that spoke earlier, and it was to do with, they call them DVCs, deer vehicle collisions. That's all that's all the time I had to do research on it. But our own Ontario Workplace Safety Board recommends lowering DVCs through education, through prevention. And they bring up 6 points, and not one of those points is shooting deer. Not one. Looking to Center for Wildlife Ethics, they say that don't necessarily sign on to the myth that it's about numbers of deer, like the fact that when we see deers hit in the mornings and evenings, a lot of those are deer that are running. They're female deer that are running from gunshots. So, you know, the idea is that would we not want to look deeper into these things, do a little bit of research, due diligence. I mean, there's less gun owners than there are non-gun owners in this country. And not all gun owners hunt. Some just target shoot. So, to me, again, exclusionary. And that's unacceptable. So I look forward to an appeal and doing more research and consultation. And working with you guys further, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, very good.
Anybody want to ask me anything? Or?
Well, it's your position to ask.
Okay.
You know, that's what question period
Sure.
is. It's
Okay.
not, yeah.
Okay. Or speak to what I just said. Any further thoughts on that?
I guess, you know, the motion right the way it is, if in the process, stuck can be twixt. The motion has been passed by council, so I'm in a position to defend that motion at this point in time until
For sure,
something
yeah.
else comes up.
Right.
You know, either way, that's the position of democracy, I would say.
Right.
It was, when it was presented the first time, very much in a similar fashion. There wasn't a public meeting, there wasn't, you know, the motion came forward, and it was defeated at that point in time. Tonight, it is a council meeting, and it come forward, and it passed 12 years later. That, you know, is how the council members felt.
Right.
And, you know, until something else comes up in play, it's the direction that council is focused on going forward with.
Yeah, well, I'll be part of that backlash. I'll be concentrating my efforts there. I mean, all 6 of the neighbors that live around our closest Great Forest are all non-gun owners.
Right.
And we don't hunt, but we have to listen to gunshots. You know, we have to put up with garbage that's left behind. Carcasses left in the ditch. I've made 2 phone-ins already with carcasses left in the ditches right next to the entrance. The third one I just gave up. I thought I'm not going to call this one in because it's just on deaf ears. But yeah, you'll hear more from me for sure. But
Very good.
Great.
No,
Thanks for your time.
Thank you
everybody.
for taking the time to engage and be part of the process, Mark. Okay? Any further questions? Then with that said, I don't believe there's any municipal act notices. Laura? I would need a motion to adjourn. Rebecca?
I move that we adjourn.
Adjourn. Seconded by Councillor Cutting. All in favor? Very good. We're almost dead on time. Thank you.